Now this is the best part about using cardboard. I always have plenty to work with. Hi, my name is Warren King. I'm a former engineer turned artist, and I've been making cardboard sculptures for the last 7 years. Before, I designed hospitals and parking structures and stadiums for several years, but today I make figurative sculptures. My work has been shown in museums and galleries around the world. I made these sculptures with only cardboard, glue, and a knife. And today I'm going to show you how to make a robot helmet with tools that you likely already have at home. First, we're going to make the ring, then the comb, the side combs, the top of the skull, the sides of the skull, the front of the helmet, the jawbone, and then the antenna. Here's the tools that you'll be using. A hot glue gun, scissors, a snap-off blade, a pencil, a circular object about 4 or 5 inches in diameter, toilet paper roll, and a cutting board. And of course you'll need cardboard. I use a standard shipping box, which is about 2 feet by 6 feet. As far as working tabletops, I have a piece of plywood to protect my tabletop, or you can use a regular kitchen cutting board. Okay, now we're going to start by breaking down our box. Grab your snap-off blade. I use a smaller snap-off blade. You can use the larger, wider ones as well. I prefer the smaller ones because it allows me to get a little bit more detailed circular cuts. So we're going to break down our box, and basically what we want is 3 pieces that are the larger size so that we can have the larger parts of the helmet, the tops and the sides. Just cut along the creases. That way you can have large pieces that don't have folds in the middle of the piece. So just carefully cut. It doesn't have to be very precise, and that's just a little bit easier to work with. We're going to break this down to smaller pieces. So when we break this down, we want to make sure that we cut along the natural seams of the creases of the cardboard. Just cut it down into smaller pieces, and we're ready to go. The cardboard actually has 3 layers. A layer of paper, a layer of corrugation, which is the wavy material in the middle, and then another layer of paper. So if you look at the cardboard, there actually is a front and a back. The front usually has the printing, and you'll notice that the paper is a little higher quality than the back. And the second thing that we need to be aware of is the lines of the corrugation. So if you look carefully at the back, then you can see that the corrugation peeks through, and you can see the lines. When we bend the cardboard, we want to bend it according to the lines. First, we're going to make a ring that goes around the forehead. Now, this is a piece that goes on the inside of the helmet, so it won't be seen, but it helps to hold everything together. So it just needs to be about 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick and goes around the outside of your head like a crown. The exact dimensions are not important at this point. So just take the longest piece that we have and cut a strip. When you cut a strip, we're going to be bending it into a curve, like so. Now, this is the first tip about bending cardboard. Whenever you want to make a curve, you want to make sure that the lines go in a certain direction. Because to bend it, basically we fold it along those creases. So I cut a strip out. I've curved it a little bit to go around the head. And I know that it's a little bit too short still, right? I still need about 6 inches or 7 inches. So we'll just cut another strip. Be aware of the lines, as usual, and we'll cut one the same width, bend it so it curves, and we'll just splice it to this piece to give it the correct length. So with the hot glue, what you want to make sure of is that you only use the amount of glue that you really need. So for a piece like this, you really only need to have very tiny bit of glue, just enough to cover a surface. Hold it in place, and you have a piece that's going to be long enough. Now, you can have a friend help you, or you can just do it yourself, but you want to just sort of measure so that the ring fits around your head. Not too tight. You should be able to still slip a finger between your head and the ring. Use your scissors and snip off a little bit of extra. Again, you leave a little bit of overlap so that you can glue. To remember where that line needs to be, just mark it off. And now I know where to apply the glue. Now, the glue gun that I'm using here, it's a professional level glue gun, right? And what that means is that it's a higher wattage, and the glue that comes out is at a significantly higher temperature. Now, this is good because the hotter the glue, the stronger the bond. But if you don't have a professional glue gun and you just use the regular craft type, which is a lower wattage, cooler glue, that's fine too. It'll work. Now that we have the basic ring, one thing you'll notice is that the ring is a little bit floppy, right? It doesn't quite hold the shape that we want. The shape that we want is not a circle, it's not elongated, but it's sort of like an oval egg shape, the shape of your head. So we're going to use a technique to keep the shape. What composite laminates are, they are simply two layers of material that are bonded together. It's the same idea that you have when you have a piece of plywood. A plywood, as you can see, is multiple layers of wood. But since they're bonded together with a layer of glue, then it holds a shape. It's very firm and it has a lot of structural integrity. We're going to put a continuous layer of glue across the one face and glue it to the outside of our ring. Firmly attach it. Make sure all the glue is spread out. And before the glue cools down and dries, hold that shape. Hold it into place. Wait the 10 or 15 seconds or so it takes to cool down. And now when you let go, you find that the shape holds itself. The next part is we're going to start building the top of the helmet, starting with this top piece, which we'll call the comb. Grab one of the larger pieces of cardboard and get a piece that's about 6 inches wide by about 14 inches long. You should notice that the lines of the corrugation run this direction. What this piece is going to look like is it's going to have a bit of a taper. It's going to be about 5.5 inches at the widest part, tapering down to about 3.5 inches at one end, okay? So we have a piece that's tapered, it's about 14 inches long, and it's going to go across the top of the helmet like so. But we're not going to use a flat piece, it's going to be curved like the top of the head. So we use our curving techniques again. So that's all you need at this point. Don't worry about the exact shape. Now taking our ring, we're going to glue this piece on like so. This is going to be the front of the helmet. This is the back. Now on the back of the helmet, I just want to leave maybe an inch, inch and a half of overhang there. On the front, we want to make sure that there's a little bit more overhang because there's a little bit of like a visor piece that goes in the helmet. I'm going to eyeball it, make sure that it's centered, and I'm going to glue the back. Once the back is glued, then I can adjust the curve and then just figure out how to glue the front, okay? Just hold it in place, roughly. Just make sure it's lined up and centered, and we wait our 10 or 15 seconds. So we want to make sure that this curve is angled enough to allow your head to sit comfortably in there. Figure out how curved you want that piece to be. So once you have an idea, so we've made a little mark. We apply just a little bit of glue there, just a drop. And now we glue the front. Once the glue is cooled down, we're just going to trim this down to a little bit more of a size that we need. And now that looks much more even. Now the next step is to make the sides of this piece that we're calling the comb. We cut off a piece of cardboard, a flat piece that's about 11 by 4. Right? And I wanted to extend down a little bit further so that I can cover up this area as well. What I'm going to do is cut out a little notch here so that it slips down. Right? And I'll just make it about 1 inch and cut it across there. And just make sure it's relatively tight fit, right? And right now it looks pretty good. So that's where I'm going to glue it. Now, I'm just covering up that space, but you notice all these extra pieces still sticking out. Don't worry about that yet. Use very little glue. This is much less glue than you would expect to make. Just a few drops every ½ inch or so is enough to hold that piece on. Once it's held on and the position is correct, and once it's strong enough, then we trim it away. Grab your larger scissors and trim away the big chunks. This is where it is very handy to have 2 different size scissors. When I have a longer scissors with a longer blade and do long, very precise straight cuts. Now when I want to trim along a curve, where it requires a little bit more precision, that's where I use my other pair of scissors that has a much shorter blade length. And then we'll do the same for the other side. Now the next piece is going to be these horizontal pieces that we're calling the top of the skull. You notice that these pieces aren't quite parallel with the top of the comb right here. they're slightly angled downward. So keep that in mind. We're going to have to adjust for that. The piece of cardboard that we'll need will make about 4 inches by 12 inches, and let's curve it up. Crease in between the lines of the corrugation. We start to get that nice curved shape. Notice that if I angle this down the way I want it, there's a gap at the top. So in order to close up that gap, that means I need to sort of trim away these corners. You can see it's a little bit of a curve. I'm going to hold it up to my helmet so I can see I got pretty lucky with that first cut. So I'm going to glue this on and leave about an inch of space between that top layer and this layer. Okay? And there we have it. We're going to hold off on trimming this off until the other side is done. Done. The next part is to do the sides of the skull. One thing you want to notice about this is the orientation of these sides. Notice that they're fairly parallel and they're sticking pretty close to straight down. So keep that in mind as we build this part. I'm going to cut off pieces that are going to be on each side. We're going to cut off pieces about 6 by 8. This is the front, and have that facing you at this point, and put it right in front of you. Draw lines that go down that are roughly parallel. We're going to trim away some of that. So let's do the other side. And we just want to make sure that line is fairly parallel and it's close enough to the sides. And it's ready for glue. Okay, hold it. So now we take our larger scissors, if you're using 2 scissors, and trim away the big chunks. Do the same thing for this side. Switch to my more precise scissors. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the front of the helmet. And the first step to do that is to trim away some of this top part of the skull. We can start to use our pencil and just mark off where we want to cut. So this visor piece is going to basically come to the top part of your brow, right, at the bridge of the nose. So you can see where your bridge of the nose is going to be based on that ring that you had. So I want to bring this visor back and then sort of have it flare back, okay? And then where it hits this edge, then this part's going to curve back a little bit. Same thing with this side. And then you grab your scissors and you start to trim away these extra pieces of cardboard. Starting to look like a helmet front. Make sure it's still fitting okay. And now we're ready to attach the faceplate. The faceplate is going to be a long piece, 18 or 20 inches long. And for this one, the corrugations have to run in this direction because we're going to be curving it like this. We crease all the way down. Okay, so now things are curved. One thing we want to do here is, you notice these faceplate here is curved, but at the middle there's a very hard, sharp angle. So pick one of the grooves that is right in the middle and just bend it, right? And put a sharp angle there. Squeeze it down a little bit. Now comes the question of how to attach it to the helmet. So get it all positioned with both hands, and then we'll glue one side. Once that side is glued, then we'll worry about the other side. And let's mark off where that needs to be. So take a line here. I put a line around the edge. I put another line like this. So now I know when I glue it, I line up that X there, and that's exactly where I need it to be. So once I have that glued in, then I can worry about the other side. So all this extra cardboard back here, I don't really need. So I'm going to trim that off. We add some glue. And then I go back, use my guidelines here, line it up just like I had before, right? Bottom edge against this line, this other line for the other orientation, and glue it on. Okay, I've glued one side. Now I do the same thing with the other side. We're good. Now we're going to beef up this visor a little bit. One thing that I don't like about it quite yet is that you can see the thickness of the cardboard. So what I always like to do, and I do this in my own work, is I put a little return on these pieces here to give the illusion that this has mass, that it has thickness. So find a strip of cardboard. What we need is a little bit of strip, 2 inches wide and 7 inches long. Something that will be long enough to cover a little bit of that inside piece there. Okay? So let's curve this up a little bit. And we're going to take our pencil and just mark off where that's going to be. And trim that away. Some glue. Glue that on. Now we do the same thing for the other side. A little bit of excess there. And that gives it that thickness. And that's basically it. Now the next step is to make the antenna. But first we're going to build the antenna, and then the next step we're going to attach it to the actual helmet. Now the first part of the antenna is this circular plate that goes to the side. And then we're going to build these things that stick onto that plate. For that circular piece, find something that's, roughly this size, 5 inches in diameter. Take a piece of cardboard, and we're just going to use that to trace out the right shape. Make 2 of them, 1 for each side. And we can go ahead and cut that out and cut off the big chunks and then use the scissors for the precision stuff. So this circle is going to go right on the side here, and later on we'll make it swivel, but for now this is just going to be the base onto which we attach the antenna. So for this piece, the antenna, it's got 2 wings attached, and each of these wings is basically a long strip of cardboard folded onto itself. I'll just cut this right down the middle. One thing I should point out is the corrugations, right? Since I'm making a bend in the cardboard the long way, I want to have the corrugations run this way, right? Not this way. I just make that crease down that groove of the corrugation. Make 2. Fold it down, and I have a nice clean joint. So let's go ahead and make 2 of these. Put the circle in front of you, and you can start to eyeball how this is going to be. So just line this up as best you can, and then use your pencil and just indicate where you're going to trim that away. These pieces, I don't want them to overlap like this. I want them to fit together nicely. And just cut down that line. Cut all the pieces together. That's the easiest way. A couple of strokes. Yep, that looks pretty good. And now let's cut this curve. And I'm just going to cut through both pieces of cardboard at the same time. We're going to attach this piece, and that's looking pretty good. Now let's design the top. The top, I want it to have a taper a little bit, right? This is the thickest piece, and I want it to taper down so that it becomes a little bit pointier at the end. So let's just cut it right through. Let's glue these together. It's going to be sandwiched like this, so I'm just going to glue this shut with a little bit of glue on each side. Glue it here, a little bit of glue there, and let's just hold it till it glues. Instead of having the antenna be straight back and forth in a parallel way, I kind of want them to flare out like this. When I glue this onto that plate, I don't want to glue them flat. I'm going to glue them lifted up a little bit, just a little bit. To do that, grab a little piece of scrap, just add a little layer here, maybe 2, so that when you glue this on, it points up a little bit, okay? So now it's time to glue this on. I'm going to do one side at a time. Put some glue here. Let's go ahead and glue that. There's a little bit of glue. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Okay, now that we've made the ears, now we're going to attach them to the sides of the head. We want to make it so that it can swivel. Now first you want to find out approximately where that ear is going to sit. And you go back to your original round template and just draw a circle basically where that's going to sit. And the way this is going to work is it's going to stick onto the side of the helmet, but it's going to have an axle. And the axle is going to go through a hole. Outside of the hole, we'll have a piece of cardboard to prevent it from slipping back out. The toilet paper roll is just the right diameter for that axle, but it's a little flimsier than I would like. So we're just going to beef this up a little bit before we use it. Cut a strip that's just maybe an inch in width. And we're just going to use it to line the inside of that toilet paper roll. And once it's in there and it's glued in, and it gives it a little bit of extra thickness, for now, we can just puncture it and just cut off. We're going to be further trimming this, so don't worry about a clean cut there. Let's go ahead and cut the hole that we need for this. Put it right in the middle of that larger ring that you drew, and draw a ring around the outside. And cut out that hole. And let's make sure that it fits. Basically, it's going to sit like that. So what we're going to do is, on the back side of this, we're going to glue a slightly wider piece of cardboard, a circle piece, so it doesn't slip back out. I like to round it off just a little bit, just so it doesn't snag on anything as it spins. But we're just going to glue this on as an axle. And glue that down. So let's test it out. Going from the back, we push this through, and it sits, right? So use your pencil and just mark off the very lowest edge of that circle. Take your precise scissors and just trim down as close to that line as possible. So just a little bit of that ring is left. We put some glue on, not too much, and make sure the glue doesn't flow to the outside of that circle. If the glue flows to the outside of that circle, then it's going to be glued onto the side of the helmet, and you won't be able to spin it. Center that up. You want to make sure you hold it on there long enough for it to fully cool down. You don't want it to pull apart too early, because this actually needs to be a fairly strong bond. It looks like it's strong enough. Right? So now you have that spinning action. Opposable ears. Okay. Now we do the same thing for the other side. Okay. We have learned how to curve the cardboard, how to attach different pieces of cardboard together, swiveling joints, and we've learned how to give the illusion of mass with the figures that you've built. The cardboard that I use is this pale blue material that is actually archival. Since I want my artwork to last for years and years, this is the material that I use. Some of the details that I added, we have a mohawk here, which is just a bent piece of cardboard stuck to the top. I added some more interesting details to the antenna, and these are just flat strips of cardboard with a few things that are sticking up. And I added a chin guard that gives it a little bit of a change in shape. And I just filled in some of these holes here with additional strips of cardboard. But all that stuff is simple stuff using the skills that we went over today, and you can decide what to do with those on your own. I'm Warren King. Thanks for joining me, and good luck making your own cardboard creations.